Brawl News! And if you ask me, today is a little bit more of a special episode of Brawl News. I don't do this very often, but guys, it's your boy Ray's birthday today. Believe it or not, I'm turning a very old 27. And if you'd like to give me some sort of a gift, it'd be awesome if you guys would subscribe to the channel. I'm pulling that card, baby. But in all seriousness, thank you guys for the continued support here on the channel. It's pretty dang crazy to look back at how many years I've been doing YouTube, now being 27. Starting my channel in college, dude, I was like 22, 21 maybe. Time flies, but yeah, you guys, thank you. Much love. Of course, we've got a ton of very important things to get straight away into here in this episode today, as we always do in any episode of Brawl News. And the main thing I'd like to start things off with is in regards to a topic that we discussed 10 days ago at the point that I'm recording this video, and that is centralized around Hank's release date. Now, in that video, we had explained that we picked up on a little bit of a release date schedule when it comes to these brawlers being released that aren't the chromatic brawler of the season, which is pretty much so smack dab right in the middle of the season, which in my opinion makes a ton of sense. When it comes to the hype of an update, it's important to stretch it out as long as you possibly can. But in that video, we utilized this template that we've been picking up on with these previous updates and predicted Hank's release date with a lot of certainty. This season is a little bit longer than last season, so the halfway point ended up falling on a weird day, right? A odd number. 63 days was the result of this entire season, so I ended up throwing out two different dates that I thought made the most sense. 31 days into the season or 32 would fit that halfway point, landing us on June 1st, or 32 days into the season would be June 2nd. And of course, falling in early June, as said in the patch notes when Hank would be released, this would work out, this window. Definitely June 1st or June 2nd. However, there is a little bit of a curveball being thrown here when it comes to predicting Hank's release date that I had no idea to even think about. That really only happened on one different occasion that I can think of, and it was during the Janet and Bonnie update. I know we're getting pretty dang deep here, but taking a look at page 19 of the esports rule book here for upcoming events and tournaments, we can take a look at the tournament schedules that are right around the corner for some significant dates in 2023. We can take a look at the actual championship challenges that are in game and when they start in the month of June. As you guys can see, the challenge starts in game that we all can participate on June 2nd through the 4th. So seeing that falls exactly when Hank should be released, I'm not sure if that's going to conflict or anything like that, seeing that this is a very pivotal tournament for the pro players to even get into the running to be able to participate in the monthly finals. So I don't know if it's in their best interest to release Hank right smack dab when these challenges are starting in game. So if this could impact Hank's release date, I could see him being released the actual day after this challenge is over in game, possibly on June 5th. While on top of that, it is a little bit murky as well when it comes to the actual monthly finals for June, starting June 10th, lasting through the 11th. But I think the actual championship challenge in game is going to be the bigger impactor than this. I think 5 days is enough for the pros to get acclimated to Hank. So I would say at this point, keep June 1st and 2nd marked on your calendar for Hank's release date, even though if he does come then, it's going to be a very hectic championship challenge for June. But if Hank isn't released on those days, I could see him being released on June 5th once that championship challenge is over. And if things get crazy and worst comes worst, possibly after the June monthly finals, so maybe June 12th, but I think that's a very small possibility. But yeah, it's pretty weird skirting around these significant dates when it comes to brawler release dates, because they can be very impactful, especially if the brawler is great in the meta. But moving along here to some news that we got just a few days ago at the point that I'm recording this video, and that is some balance changes following the update. I think a pretty dang successful balance change patch here, if you ask me, addressing some problem child in the meta. As you can see here, Chester ended up getting an HP buff. Mr. P also got a pretty dang substantial HP buff. Mr. P has been really bad in the meta for quite some time now, so I'm hoping possibly the new gear for him, as well as this HP buff, will make him perform a bit better in the meta. But then the nerfs, which I feel like a lot of the discussion is around when it comes to these balance changes. We have a nerf to B, charge shot damage multiplier 275% to 250%, a 300 damage decreased when maxed. Warranted, I would say. B has been pretty much so at the top of the leaderboard. I would say like top 3 or top 5 best brawlers in this meta for wow, like a long time. Next up, we had a nerf to Penny's HP. Penny has been a really good brawler in the meta for a couple balance changes as well. Next up, Amber to her mythic gear, the slow amount from 20% to 10%, a huge change to that gear, which I think is pretty dang warranted. We were seeing some wild team comps with Amber just around this gear and being able to slow down pretty much so the entirety of the map when it comes to important choke points in competitive gameplay. But then rolling along to Meg, I think we all foresaw this coming. Meg, a very scary brawler in the meta right now. The change was just to her star power force field, the duration. I think very warranted. I can't believe this has been like this for so long. The shield from 30 seconds long to 10 seconds, and the damage reduction was slashed from 35% to 25%. She's still going to be good, guys. It's just this star power getting affected, but definitely impacted, I would say. But then we have a base HP decrease on Janet there by 200, then a Grom HP slash a 200, and then the vision gear, really interesting here. Vision gear no longer reveals targets that are invisible from skills like Leon's gadget and super and Sandy's super here. Then that would imply the brawlers within that sandstorm would also not be affected by vision gear. Guys, I feel like vision gear was a pretty dang situational gear in the first place, so I think its affectability now is going to be even worse, right? And then some improvements down there. The second one I'm the most interested in. We're testing a measure to reduce the amount of duplicated brawlers in Showdown. No more Meg Apocalypse, which is definitely a problem with the recent changes to her kit, basically allowing her to have 2 lives in Showdown. Pretty interesting list of balance changes. You guys should let me know what you all are thinking about this. Here, I think it's going to be pretty dang solid. But moving along here to a little bit of an interesting bit of news. Guys, normally I have my receipts when it comes to significant things right around the corner, but I really cannot find where I heard this through the grapevine. So this is a little bit more of a gut bit of news, but I had thought that there was going to be a Mother's Day challenge centralized around Eve, around the realm of brawler specific challenges that we've seen in the past, much like for Pam and Nita, where most of the rewards would be specific pins. Again, I have no idea where I saw this, but I just saw it somewhere. But you guys will just have to take my word for it, I suppose. But of course, we did not get that challenge, nor an Eve challenge at that. So if this is a thing, and if it were to come, I would assume that it wouldn't be that much outside of the Mother's Day spectrum, which I thought it was going to be designed around. I was pretty dang adamant in thinking that this was going to come, to the point where I was shocked that we didn't have a challenge on this day. So the biggest takeaway of this bit of news is don't be surprised if you see a Eve challenge popping up sometime soon. Again, I can't back that up or anything like that, but just keep your eyes open. But then the final bit of news I would like to discuss with all of you guys here today. As you can see, tweeted out by Supercell, we had a podcast or an interview with Frank, the game lead of Brawl Stars, that was pretty dang interesting, and a few bits that I'd like to point out to all of you guys that I think you guys will find interesting. I would highly recommend, if you guys got a little bit of extra time, to sit down and watch this interview for yourselves in its entirety, because it is a phenomenal listen. But there are a few bits that I would like to point out with all you, at least in an episode here, that I found really fun. The very first part of the interview that I found really interesting is the team candidly talking about WKBRL things, where in the past they were pretty dang locked when it came to having any affiliation with with lore and things along those lines, but they discussed the process of implementing the WKBRL with the first Morse code introduced into the game that I found really, really weird, almost off-putting, because they are always so dang mysterious about the things that they implement, much like this when it comes to Star Park.
And so the very first clue that we dropped was a radio on the side of one of the levels in the game itself had a blinking light. And that blinking light was Morse code. It took the community a little while to figure out that it was Morse code, but then they realized it was WKBRL. And then they figured out there was a YouTube channel that was streaming more clues. It was youtube.com/WKBRL.
A private channel.
And then the final part that I found super, super compelling was Frank when it came to the little Easter eggs that they implement within photos and things along those lines, to the point where your boy Ray felt validated. I feel like it's a meme at this point that I've seen a few times in the community where people kind of make fun and poke around at people who dive super, super deep into photos, trying to find Easter eggs and what have you, and spending a good amount of time just finding elements inside of a photo. But on one hand, Frank is kind of making fun of it, people taking a lot of time and analyzing everything. But then on the other hand, he literally says that we haven't found some things, important things in these photos, verbatim saying that there are elements that the community has yet to find in past photos, which is like, dude, now you know why I go so in depth on these photos. Have a listen.
It's insane how quickly an audience can figure it out. Almost like
it was as far as like the moment we realized that our community starts to, like, now they're analyzing every single marketing art piece dropped on our social media. They're obsessively, so I might add, like, going into every detail. What does it mean? Why is there a box there? We have never seen a box like that. Is that a new thing? So it was like,
are you intentionally like, is there stuff that you think the community has still to find?
Of course.
You think so?
Course. Yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
Pretty dang crazy. Now, hey, I'm getting anxious. The fact, like, what did we not hit? What did we not see that is important that they're alluding to, man? I'm going to have to take a deep dive into past photos and try to figure this out, man. But yeah, always really, really cool to see the inner workings of Brawl Stars through the lens of the game lead, the actual design and what they had to do, the trials and tribulations in order to get Brawl Stars global and to the point where we're at today. It's a really, really good listen, and I'd highly recommend you guys check it out for yourselves. But yeah, there you have it, everyone. That's just about all I got for you here in this episode of Brawl News. Hopefully you all found it interesting, useful, or anything like that. If you did, make sure to slap a like on it. I'd really appreciate that. Have an absolutely fantastic rest of your day. Keep having fun with Brawl Stars, and we'll see you all in the next one. Adios, and take care.